All right, so today we did another mentor text. We're going to talk a lot this quarter, working with writing with Mrs. Oakout and myself, doing essay writing and being able to uh, kind of just talk about what the writers do, using this mentor text to read it as a reader, but then also as a writer, and trying those things out. So here's what we ended up doing today. This one's called I Recommend Eating Chips. You don't have a copy of this right now, but when you get back to school, make sure you grab one from me. And then you are going to have to do some writing with this, and I'll explain that after I read it. Okay? All right. So when you read this, you want to make sure that you read all the things that go along with it, just so we kind of have a full understanding. So the title is I Recommend Eating Chips. It's by Sam Anderson. It's for the New York Times Magazine. It's published in January 13th of 2021 and updated on March 25th of 2021. All right. Oh, hello. Nice to see you. Have a seat. Let's stress eat some chips together. Okay, so stress eat some chips together. Let's turn ourselves briefly into dusty fingered junk food receptacles. This will force us to stop looking for a few minutes at the bramble of tabs we've had open on our internet browsers for all these awful months. Okay, so all these awful months. So I go back to what it says up here, January to March of 2021. So I'm thinking this is like the pandemic. I'm thinking this is also, um, I can also put COVID. So that way it's kind of what it's talking about. Okay. The articles we've been too frazzled to read about, the TV shows we've been meaning to watch, the useless products we keep almost in impulse buying, the sports highlights and classic films that we digest in 12-second bursts every 4 days, that little cartoon diagram of how to best lay out your fruit orchids in Animal Crossing. Eating these chips will rescue us, above all, from the very worst things on our screens, the cursed news of the outside world. So again, I feel like there's avoidance here. So trying to avoid essentially the pandemic or COVID. Okay? Please sit down. I've got a whole bag of Cool Ranch Doritos here, electric blue, plump as a winter seed, bursting with imminent joy. I found it up in the cupboard over the fridge, where by some miracle my family had yet to discover it. It had slipped sideways behind the protein powder back near the leftover Halloween candy, so now I'm sitting here all alone on the kitchen counter, about to sail off into the salty seas of decadent gluttony. The next few minutes of my life, at least, are going to be great. Okay, so I like what's happening here in the sense of this is really good description and describing what is happening and all that kind of stuff. But then the fact of like these Cool Ranch Doritos, and it doesn't have to be Cool Ranch. If you have a different one, that's fine. But Cool Ranch Doritos are a happy place. And coming down here, it's like this is happy in the midst of all this pandemic going on. Okay? All right. Join me. Grab whatever you've got. Open the bag, pinch it on its crinkly edges, and pull apart the seams. Now we're in business. We have broken the seal. The inside of the bag is silver and shining, a marvel of engineering, strong and flexible and reflective like an astronaut suit. Lean in. Inhale that unmistakable bouquet. Toasted corn, dopamine, America, grief. We are the first humans to see these chips since they left the factory who knows when. They've been waiting for us, embalmed and preserved like a pharaoh in his dark tomb. I really like this sentence because again, it puts a good visual in your head. That description piece. These chips might have even been produced in the former world in the time before the plague, when people gathered in sports stadiums, filled concert halls, touched one another's faces, high-fived, passed around phones and cash. But now they have been born into this world, into our doomed timeline, and they have absolutely no idea. So when we say the plague here, this I think again is going back up to COVID and the pandemic. So they're saying that maybe these Doritos were made before COVID even hit, and so now they have to put up with kind of what's happening in the world. Okay. That is the great virtue of chips. They are here for us to eat them, so that is what we will do. I will put the first chip now into my mouth. I will set it delicately on my tongue. This is like softly or gently, like a communion wafer. Instantly, the flavor snaps against my taste buds, that earthy, cheesy tang, flashing like a firecracker, lighting up the whole wet cave of my mouth. I like this description as well, making like your cave or your mouth is like a cave. And radiating out further to fill my whole head, my whole being. these chemicals are transcendent. So again, it's not just the taste of it. It's like going transcendent is like it's taking over essentially. Okay, they trigger nodes of memory. So this kind of goes down to this too: is that food can also equal memories. Okay, they trigger nodes of memory that stretch back years, decades, back to old Super Bowls and family reunions, back to the outside world that I am trying to forget. Another chip, another chip. So I like that he puts this in here because it goes back to oh yeah, he's eating. He just keeps eating these chips. What is the comfort of junk food? Why do we experience these very empty calories with such passionate, sensual absorption? It is a question that predates the pandemic, of course, and probably has a prosaic answer. Some proprietary formula hidden under fluorescent lights in the flavor laboratory in New Jersey. But even minor questions like or take on outsized importance these days. A pandemic, it turns out, produces a curious paradox. It not only creates a shrieking worldwide drama of existential dread, it also puts relentless pressure on the most mundane aspects of our everyday lives. For nearly a year now, many of us have been locked in controlled environments, a closed lab of selfhood, the Quarantine Institute of Applied Subjectivity. Our homes have become biodomes studied or designed to study the fragile ecosystems of us. All our neurosis and addictions and habits are under a microscope. Willpower, productivity, resilience, despair. We have turned into scientists ourselves, and so I watch myself eating chips. Okay, so this is interesting because they're saying that we're in a controlled environment um, of self-help. Our homes have become biodomes, ecosystem of us. So we have like a science experiment here, is what they're referring to, because we're under microscope. So these things right here is what is under a microscope in the sense of are we going to be okay kind of thing. Okay. All right. The chips don't have to be chips, of course. They could be anything. You binge in order to self-soothe. Maybe you do jigsaw puzzles instead of answering work email. Maybe you trade options all day on Robinhood. Maybe you walk counterclockwise around your home over and over, tightening all the screws on every fixture. Maybe you read Twitter. All right, so this right here is like coping. How are we able to cope? How are we able to? This is like the test. What are we doing in order to kind of keep ourselves okay? This is what he does. For me, a bag of chips is a way to defeat time. It brings temporary infinity, a feeling that it will never end. A chip, a chip, a chip, another chip. So it's repetitive. The chips come like ocean waves, like human breaths, serial but unique, each part of a huge eternal rhythm, but also its own precious discovery. Okay, so it just keeps going, is basically what this is saying. Because human breath keeps going, ocean waves keep coming, no matter what, it just keeps going. I hate to say this to risk breaking the spell, but I have just noticed that my arm is reaching deeper and deeper into Dorito's bag. So, emptying. I didn't spell it right. Emptying bag. What used to be just my fingertips turned into a whole wrist, and now, although it seems as if it's been only 5 seconds, my whole forearm is disappearing into the bag. It appears that I have eaten 1/2 of the entire bag of chips, 3/4 if we are being honest. Well, 7/8. The remaining chips are very small, just fragments, resplendent with flavor dust. I believe we have reached the point, in fact, where it would be shameful to leave only what's left. So we keep going. We must keep going. A chip, a chip, a chip. Keep going. A chip. If we stop, it will end. But if we keep going, it will last forever. I like this last sentence here. But again, I like this repetitiveness. It kind of does this throughout, so you're going to see it. Because again, it's just reminding us, I did that here, and up here. It just reminds us that he is eating these bags of chips and like what this says. It's interesting though, because he's using this bag of chips, but this piece is not really about chips. It's kind of just talking about how, like, in the classes I talked to today, it's like, how do we cope with the changes that are happening? How do we cope with the changes that happened with the pandemic in the sense of all the things that we had to stop doing, and then now we're going to start doing them again. So it's just kind of interesting to go through that. But what I want you to think about is I want you to think about some things that you did. So think about those days where when things were kind of shut down for a while, like you couldn't really do anything, you were kind of stuck at home. What were things that you did to help you pass the time? And some things that I did is I played cards. I did nature walks. I played with my daughters. I watched Netflix, Hulu, those kind of things. Okay, so I want you to think about one of the what you did. So you're gonna think about one thing, and then what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna type to that. You're gonna think about what are some things that you can take away from this. Maybe you like the description because there's a lot of description in the sense of what the chip tasted like, how it overcame the whole thing. Maybe you liked the repetitiveness of saying another chip, um, that kind of thing. You could do that. In one of my classes today, I went with the watch Netflix and Hulu, and I ended up going another episode. So I'd say something like that. So, but I want you to take something away from what this author did and see if you can add something very similar to that in your own piece. Okay, so whatever it is that you like it, because again, there's a lot of description in here. In the sense of taking it and showing all parts of it, using those senses. So again, I just want you to pick something that you did to kind of pass time during those times when you were stuck at home. What did you do? Take something that's from this, and what you're going to do is you're going to email it to me. So I'm going to show you this really quickly. This is going to be your assignment from me. If I don't see that you have this, what I will do is I'll put it in as missing. Oh, I don't have this open. Sorry. So in order for you to get credit for today, you'll need to email me. Sorry, it's taking me a minute. I apologize. All right, so what you're going to do is you are going to email me. Oh, this is really fun. Okay. All right. Email Singman. And you can title it. You can just do I recommend eating chips if you want, so that way I know what you're doing. Eating chips. And then what you're going to do is you're going to choose that time. You're going to just say, what did you do at home to pass time during a pandemic? And then basically, I want you to describe it. Describe it. Be descriptive. Use senses. Maybe you want to add in something about like another blank and just keep repeating that. So again, I just want you to kind of think about what can you take away from what the author did here and how can you try to capture that in your own piece, depending on whatever you choose that you did during COVID, okay, during that pandemic. All right, so I'm going to be looking for an email from you. It's going to be titled I Recommend Eating Chips, and I'm going to look at that. And then we will take that out and kind of put it in your notebook when you get back. Otherwise, that's what you're doing today. If you have any questions, please email me. I will not put this in as missing until next class, so make sure you look at that. All right, awesome. Thank you.